Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to learn how to send a template email message with dynamic data using a famous template engine called Handlebars. Handlebars can be installed as a regular module in Node.js, and it allows the creation of dynamic and reusable templates for rendering. And for this video, we're going to use Handlebars together with another Node.js module to send emails called NodeMailer. I already have a project here on VS Code using the NodeMailer module, so let's take a look. So here I have a file called index.js, which will be our main file. And inside here on the top, I'm importing the NodeMailer module, and down here we have a few steps. I'll just explain here real quick, but if you want to learn in depth the NodeMailer module, we already have a video here on the channel explaining how to use the NodeMailer module with lots of examples. I'll leave the link on the description below. So in step number 1, we need to create something called transporter by calling the createTransport function from NodeMailer. And inside we need to enter some details like the service we're using, in this case Gmail. I'll be using one of my personal Gmail accounts. And next we need to enter the auth option with the user, which is our personal Gmail address, and the password. And both these informations are stored securely inside the .env file. Note that this password is not the password of our Gmail account. This is a different password generated to use in a third-party application. On the video link in the description below, I'll explain how to generate this password on your personal Gmail account. And on step number 2, we're creating a mail options constant object with some details like from, which is who is sending the email, and to, which is the address we're sending the email, the subject of the email, and here we're setting the text option, which is just a simple text without HTML and CSS. In step number 3, we're sending the email, calling the transport object we created here on the top, calling the sendMail function, and inside we're passing the mail options with the information we created on step number 2. And the second parameter is a callback function which returns an error and information about the email we're sending. And inside this callback function, we're checking if there is an error. And if there is, we're printing the error on the console. Otherwise, we're printing a success message. So let's run this index.js file by opening the terminal here on the top and type node and the file name, which is index. Hit enter. And perfect, message sent successfully. Now let me open my Gmail here, and here's the new message. Let's open, and as you can see, we just have a simple message here with no styles. Back on the code. Now let's send a style HTML message, and later on the video we'll learn how to make the content more dynamic. So I'll start by installing the module we're going to use here on the terminal. So npm install. And the module is called NodeMailer-Express-Handlebars. Okay, hit enter. And perfect, module is installed. Now we may need several email templates. Let's say when a user just registered, or if the user forgot the login password, or we might need to send like a promotion for a specific product to our users. So all these email templates will store inside another folder. So I'll create a new folder here on the root of our project called views. And inside the new views folder, I'll create our first template, so new file, and we'll call this one the welcome message.handlebars. Great, so in a handlebars file, we can add HTML code just like a normal HTML file. So in VS Code, if we type here HTML, and we can select this HTML column 5 option here, and VS Code will create a basic HTML template for us. So here inside the body tag, I'll just create a simple template here. So I'll add a h1, and inside I'll type welcome user. And let's add a paragraph as well with a message saying you are registered to the application. Okay, very simple. Now we need to send this template on the email instead of just a simple text message. So on the index.js file, I'll be starting by importing the NodeMailer Express Handlebars module here below the node mailer import. So const, and I'll call this HBS, which is short for handlebars, equals to require, and inside the node mailer express handlebars. Good. Now, right after we create our transporter object, let's configure some details of the new module. So I'll just put a comment here saying configure handlebars plugin. Okay, now let's create a constant here called HBS, which is handlebars options. And this is equals to an object. Now, inside this object, we need to set two required options here. The first one is called view engine in camel case, and this is equals to another object. So the handlebars plugin expects that we have a default template called main.handlebars, but we didn't create this file here. So we need to set an option called default layout equals to false, and this option should be in camel case as well, and later on the video we'll see an example using this option here. And that's it for the view engine option. Now we need to set the view path option, also in camel case, and here we need to inform the directory where our templates are stored, in this case the views folder. And since this folder is on the same level as the index file, so here on the view path we can put views directly here. And that's it for now with the HBS options, and we need to pass these options to the transporter. So below here I'll call the transporter object dot use, and here we have two parameters. The first one is the step, and we need to set as compile. And the second parameter is the handlebars plugin. So here I'll call the handlebars module we imported here on the top, so HBS, and inside we can pass the HBS options we created here. Perfect. So the handlebars plugin is configured. Now we need to make some changes here on the mail options object to send the welcome message template we created, instead of sending just a simple text message using the text option. So we can remove the text option here, and instead we want to set the template option, and this will receive a string with the name of the template we created. So welcome message. We don't need to add the extension because the plugin already expects to be a .handlebars file. So now when we send the email, the user should receive this template on the mailbox. Okay? So let's open the terminal here on the top, and let me clear here first and run again node index. Okay, message sent successfully. Now let's go back to the Gmail. So here we have the old message with the simple text. Let me remove this one. And here's the new email message. Let's open, and perfect. Here's the message with the template we created. And as you can see here, we have the H1 welcome user and the paragraph saying you are registered to the application. Great. And we can also add some CSS on this template. So here inside the head tag, I'll add a style tag. And let's add some style to the H1, and I'll change the color of the text to green, for example. And let's change for the paragraph as well. I'll also change the color property to a darker gray color like this. And let's change the font size as well to 20 pixels. Good. Now here on the terminal, let's run again, node index. Okay, message sent successfully, back on Gmail. So here we have the old message without this style. Let's remove this one. And here is the new message. Let's open, and perfect. As you can see now, the H1 is green and the paragraph is with a darker gray color and bigger than before. Perfect. Now here on the index file, we could write some HTML directly here on the mail options, setting the HTML property like this, and we can add some backticks and add the code directly here. But the biggest advantage of using a template engine like Handlebars to send emails is the possibility of dynamically inserting data into the template. So for example, here on the welcome message template and on the H1, we could dynamically change the user here to the actual name of the user we are sending the email. So we can insert a handlebars expression here with a variable. And to add an handlebars expression, we need to add double curly braces like this. And inside the name of the variable, so I'll add user name in camel case, but you can add all with lowercase or separate by underscore, whatever you prefer. Just make sure to not add white spaces between words. Great, so now we need to set the username variable when sending the email. So here on the index file, inside the mail options object, we need to set another property, which is the context property. And this will receive an object with all variables we added to the template. In this case, we only set the username variable. So I'll put here John Doe, for example. Great, now let's test this. So on the terminal, node index. Okay, message sent, back on Gmail. Here we have the old message without the username variable. Let's delete this one and open the new message, and perfect. As you can see here on the H1, it's now showing the John Doe, which is the name we set on the username variable using the context property. So this is the benefit of using a template engine. We could set as many variables as we wanted and make the email message complete dynamic according to our needs. Now here we set the styles directly on the template, but what if we have like tons of templates here? And imagine setting these styles to each of these templates. We will have duplicate code, and if we have to change a style in one of the templates, we'll probably have to change it in other templates as well, leading to an exhausting task. So it's definitely a good practice to have all these styles in a different file. So here inside the views folder, I'll create a new file called styles.handlebars. And inside this file, let's select the styles here from inside the template, including the style tag. Let's cut and paste inside the styles file. Let me just format here a little. Perfect. And let me just change something here. So for example, I'll remove this font size property from the paragraph just so we can test. Okay, now we need to add the styles file inside our template. And handlebars allows us to reuse a template inside another. These are called partials. So the styles handlebars file we created is a partial. And to insert inside the welcome message template, the syntax is double curly braces as well. And here after the open curly braces, we need to add the greater than symbol. And after the name of the partial, in this case, the styles file. Great. Now on the index file inside the HBS options object, we need to tell handlebars the directory where the partials file are stored. So inside the view engine options, we need to set the partials dir property in camel case. And since we create the styles file inside the views folder, we can add here views directly. Great, so let's test this by opening the terminal and run node index. Okay, message sent, back on Gmail. Here we have the old message. As you can see, the paragraph font size is with 20 pixels. So let's delete this message and open the new one. And perfect, all styles looks correct. The paragraph without the font size property that we changed. And now we're using the styles from inside the styles file, and we can reuse this file inside other templates as well. Perfect. Now, what if all emails we send, we want to have a standard template, like a base template, and inside we want to add another template, which is the actual message. So for example, we want to have a header section on the top with a logo, for example, and a footer section on the bottom with a greeting message saying something like regards, and on another line the company name, for example. And between these sections we want to add our message template, and handlebars allows us to do this by adding a raw block inside a template. So let me add everything back here. Okay, so let's create a base template and add the welcome message template inside. So inside the views folder, I'll create another file, and this will be the base message.handlebars. And inside this file, I'll select everything we have on the welcome message template, cut from here, and paste on the base message file. And let's remove the content here from inside the body because this will come from the welcome message template. So let's cut from here and paste inside the welcome message. Let me just format here a little. Okay, so on the base message file, let's say we want to have a div on top, which will be a logo, for example, so company logo. And let's say we want a div on the bottom saying regards, and let's add a BR tag to insert a new line, and then the company name. Okay, and let's add a class here on this bottom div of footer, and here on the other div as well, class of header, for example. So let's add some style to these classes. So for the header class, we'll change the color of the text to a lighter gray. So let me see here. Alright, this one looks good. Now let's change the font size to something a little bigger, like 20 pixels. Now let's copy this and change to footer. And let's just remove the font size property and leave the same color from the header. Okay, now back on the base message file, we need to add the raw block that will receive the body message from another handlebars template. For example, the welcome message content between the header and the footer sections. And we can add a raw block by inserting 3 curly braces like this and inside the body word. So this raw block here will be replaced to the body inside the welcome message file. Now in the index file, we need to add some extra configuration to the HBS options object, informing the directory where our base layout templates will be stored. So we need to set the layouts dir property, just like we did for the partials here. So the base message file is also inside the views folder. So here we can add views directly. Now remember the default layout property here. So by default, Handlebars expects a file called main, but our default layout file is the base message. So here instead of false, we can add the base message file like this. Great. So now we have a base template that expects another template inside. Let's test these changes. So on the terminal, let's run node index. Okay, message sent, back on Gmail. So here we have the old message without the header and the footer we created on the base message layout. We can remove this message and let's open the new message. And perfect. As you can see here, we have the company logo on top and the footer message here on the bottom. And between, we have the content from the welcome message file. So everything is working perfectly. And we could actually create a function to make this more customized according to our needs. And we use this function whenever we need. And we'll add this code here inside this new function. So here on the bottom, let's create a new function called send email. And for the parameters, we'll add 2, which is the email address we're sending the email, the subject, the template we're going to send, and the data we're going to send inside the template, which is the context here. So context. And inside this function, I'll select all the code here of steps 2 and 3, cut and paste inside the send email function. So the from property we can leave as it is, and the to property we can grab from the parameter here. So to, and since the property have the same name as the value, so we can leave just the to here like this. And the same for the subject. So let me remove here because now we're getting from the parameter, and the template as well, and for the context as well. And the rest looks good. So now we need to call this function. So send email, and the first parameter is the address we're going to send. So for example, io.manfra@gmail.com. And the subject, I'll add dynamic email template with handlebars. And for the template parameter, we could send the welcome message template we already have, but let's create another template just for testing. So on the views folder, new file, and this will name another message dot handlebars, for example. And inside this file, let's just add a paragraph with a message saying, for example, your access code is, and here we'll add an expression with the access code variable inside. Perfect. Now back on the index file, here on the template parameter, we'll add the new template we created. So another message, and for the context parameter, we'll add an object with the access code property, and we'll add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now let's test these changes on the terminal. So again, node, index. Great, message sent, back on Gmail. So here we have the old message with the welcome message template file. Let's delete this one and open the new message, and perfect. We have the header here on the top, the footer on the bottom, and between the content from the other message template file we created with the access code variable. Perfect. And now we can use this function anywhere inside our project, let's say inside an express route or somewhere else. And everything is customizable, sending different templates with dynamic data. Great, so in this video we learned how to send email templates using the Handlebars template engine with dynamic data, and we also learned how to create partials and reuse them inside a template file, and we learned how to create a default layout for our email messages. Hope this video was useful to you, and if it was, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll leave the GitHub repo link for this example on the description below. Thank you so much for watching and hope to see you in the next video.